great place to be. There's so much opportunity. When you talk about a mission field, there's just a lot going on with our farm economy, with our ever-changing diverse population in this area of the United States. We are quickly becoming a much more diverse population, especially along the I-80 corridor, and it just opens up a lot of opportunities to engage with people who are very different than you, and walk with them as they're kind of learning the landscape of life in the plains as well. The first thing I would name is the mentoring that comes along, because when you're seeing how this could fit, but your church knows it's your first appointment. The coaching I had, the mentor group through the candidacy process, I had lots of good places to tap into folks that have gone this route. They had resources that they had used that I was able to kind of take those and craft them a little bit further so they make sense in our context. But the support, first and foremost from our district superintendent, for this kind of possibility, this type of new leadership structure was incredibly important. She was a great resource. But really the peer mentoring, the peer clergy things that go on around here are really phenomenal. I've never felt like there was a crazy question or something that was out of bounds to ask. There has just always been room in these clergy relationships to explore some new ideas and to really get some good almost management lessons from them about how to introduce things and time frames to work in, just based on their experience, and they're willing to share that. So it's just powerful stuff when your colleagues are in it with you.
Well, I think you should consider ministry in Kansas and Nebraska for a really compelling reason, a really simple reason, and that's that it's the front line of a lot of the things that are shaping our United Methodist movement, not just now, but for generations to come. A lot of people think of Kansas and Nebraska as kind of flyover states. What they forget is that we've been heavily involved in the movements that are currently shaping our denomination for decades. The Jimmy Creech trial was in 1997 in Omaha, Nebraska. That's part of the Great Plains. Right now, UMC Next, one of its headquarters, one of its loudest speakers is out of Kansas City, Kansas at Church of the Resurrection. And so what you're finding is that the things and the movements that are shaping who we're going to be, not just the next 2 or 3 years, but for decades, those are often coming out of the Great Plains Conference. What you forget is that 4 years ago, or maybe even longer than that now, that two of the biggest movements, the two biggest sides in the great division regarding human sexuality, that both of those have ties to the Great Plains. That the speech for the conservative side was read by a lay leader out of the Great Plains, that the speech for the progressive side was led by a pastor out of the Great Plains. What you're finding is that this is a conference where we've both learned to do ministry alongside people that we may or may not agree with, but also we are committed to shaping the future, that it might be just and equitable and welcoming to all people, because that's part of our United Methodist heritage.
Whatever church you go to, you get invited by families to join in their sacred moments, whether it's a baptism or a wedding or a funeral or a confirmation. Those are moments that families share that are benchmarks in their life, and I get to be part of them.
I think they should consider ministry here because it's a really good place. I myself, I'm from Singapore, so I came to Kansas for college, and when I came for college at first, I didn't think that I was going to stay and serve as a pastor here. I just let the Holy Spirit guide as I went along. And the connections that I built in college in Kansas, with my campus minister and with the conference, even when I went to seminary in Kentucky, I kept those relations, and the conference really cared for me, through the ordination process, even though I was far away. I kept that relationship, and I had a great experience going through the ordination process. The decoms and the boom were really encouraging to me. Each time I came back during my seminary years, they helped me along. And then when I was about to graduate, they offered me the opportunity to be part of the Transition into Ministry program, and that has really equipped me to be ready and to give me more confidence in ministry. I'm not always a very confident person, so that has helped me with all these various aspects of that the conference provided for me. That has been great. And on top of that, there's a lot of great people, a lot of great pastors, and relationships to be built. Yeah.
Because these are really good down-home people that are, we say Nebraska nice, and we do it kind of making fun of others and ourselves, I guess, because there is a sense of niceness in this place, and people work hard to live into that in a way that recognizes a Christian background and understanding. So it's a rich place to be in ministry because people are inclined to explore what it means to be a disciple of Jesus Christ. So in some respects, we have kind of an easy approach still to ministry, especially some of the smaller towns. There still is that sense of the church that probably looks a little bit more familiar to those of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And yet, in order to stay a part of this world and a part of the world that is moving on, there's ways that people are exploring how to be that nice, that Christian, that background in today's society. And I happen to live in a community that calls itself progressive and is looking for ways to maintain being a small town where it's a great place to raise your kids and be able to be involved in the technological world and keeping up with modern day practices of selling produce and product around the world. And so it's an interesting combination.